The hall of crystal light was filled with laughter. Alien girls, tall and beautiful, sat around a shining table. Their skin glowed silver blue. Their eyes sparkled like burning stars. They were the daughters of a proud race, and they thought themselves above all others. They laughed not at each other but at Earth. "Humans are weak," one of them said, her voice like music but filled with scorn. "They fight among themselves. They beg for help from the stars. They cannot even protect their small blue world," another added. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the hall like cruel bells. For these alien girls, Earth was nothing more than a joke. Humanity was small, fragile, and powerless. To them, humans were like children pretending to be warriors. But then, something happened. A message came. A small human ship had crossed their border. Just one ship. Inside it, only one man. The laughter exploded again. One man? Only one? Did Earth send us a toy instead of an army? They joked. Maybe he is lost. Maybe he came here by mistake. Another teased. Yet when the ship landed, the hall grew silent. The doors opened and the human man stepped forward. He was not tall compared to them. He had no armor of gold, no weapons shining with power. His clothes were simple, his face calm. He walked into their hall as if he did not fear them at all. The alien girls studied him, then burst into laughter once more. "Look at him, so small, so plain. He is nothing compared to us. What can one human do? He cannot fight us. He cannot defeat us." But the man did not react. He did not shout or bow his head. He only looked at them with quiet eyes. His gaze was steady, unbroken, almost like stone. That silence unsettled some of the girls. One alien beauty, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Her silver hair flowed like a river of light. She smirked at him and said, "Human, why did you come here? Did Earth send you as a gift for us to play with?" The man's voice was calm but strong. "I came because I wanted to, not as a gift, not as a toy. I came to see for myself who you really are." The aliens laughed again, but the sound was thinner this time, less sure. Another alien girl leaned close and whispered to her sisters, "Why does he not tremble? Why does he not beg for mercy?" The man stood still, his hands at his side. He spoke again. "You think humans are weak? Maybe we are. But weakness is not always failure. Sometimes weakness hides strength you cannot see." The laughter stopped. Just for a moment, the hall grew quiet. The alien women looked at each other, their smiles uncertain. They were used to fear. They were used to power. They were not used to this, a human standing before them without shaking, without shame. To break the silence, one alien clapped her hands and said loudly, "Let us test him. Let us see what this human is made of." The others cheered. They wanted a game. They wanted to see this human man fail, to laugh even harder. The tall one with silver hair smirked again. "Very well," she said. "We shall test him. If he passes, we will respect him. If he fails—" She let the words hang in the air like a blade. "If he fails, he will never leave this hall alive." The human man did not blink. He simply said, "Then test me." The alien girls felt a strange shiver run through them. His voice was not proud, not arrogant, but steady like a mountain. The first test began. They placed before him a heavy stone, so large that no human should lift it. "Show us your strength," they said, laughing. "Lift it if you can." The man looked at the stone. His hands touched it, but he did not try to lift it. Instead, he pushed it slowly to the ground where it rolled away. He looked at them and said, "Strength is not always in the arms. It is also in the mind. Why lift when you can move?" Some of the alien women stopped smiling. The second test was harder. They asked him questions about the stars, about maps of galaxies, about paths of light. They thought a human would know nothing, but the man answered with calm logic, using knowledge of Earth's skies. His answers were not perfect, but they were clever, Unexpected, the alien girls exchanged glances. They had laughed before, but now they were watching, and so the first day ended. The human man was still alive, still calm, still standing. The laughter had grown less, but deep inside, the alien women whispered to themselves. Who was this man, and why did he not fear them? The story had only just begun. The night in the alien city was alive with silver light. Towers rose high, glowing against the endless stars. The alien girls who once laughed at Earth gathered once more, but this time their voices were quieter. The human man was still alive. No one had expected that. He had not fought with fists, but with calm words and clever actions. He had not begged, nor had he bowed. His silence and steady eyes unsettled them, so they planned something new. If he does not break by lifting stones or answering questions, one of them whispered, then let us give him true challenges. Let us see if his spirit can survive what his body cannot. The others agreed. They wanted to prove their superiority once and for all. This was no longer a game of laughter. It was now a test of pride. The next morning, the man was brought to the Hall of Trials. The walls shone with crystal light and shadows moved like fire across the floor. The alien women stood around him, their faces proud and cold. The tallest one, with flowing silver hair, raised her hand for silence. Human, she said, her voice echoing. You stand in our world as if you belong here. You speak as if you are more than you are. But today we will know the truth. Today we will test you until your heart fails. The man looked at her calmly. Then test me, he said again. The first challenge began. They brought forth a path of fire. Flames rose, high, dancing on the stone floor, blocking the way forward. Cross it, one alien commanded. Show us if humans can walk through pain. The man stepped forward. The heat struck his skin like knives, but he did not turn back. He moved slowly, carefully, covering his face with his arm. His steps were steady, one after another. By the time he reached the other side, his skin was burned and his clothes were torn. The alien women gasped. A human should have fallen. A human should have screamed. But he stood tall, breathing heavy, yet unbroken. Pain does not decide strength, he said. Endurance does. The second challenge came. They led him into a chamber filled with illusions. Strange lights twisted into monsters, shadows that hissed and whispered his worst fears. Many alien warriors had fallen in this chamber screaming until their minds broke. The man walked slowly through it. He saw visions of Earth burning, his people crying out for help, his home swallowed by flames. His heart pounded, his knees shook, but he did not run. He whispered to himself, "Fear is a shadow, it cannot touch me." Step by step he moved forward until he reached the other side. The alien women watched with wide eyes. How can this human resist the fear, one asked. No one resists the illusions, not even we. But the man only stood silently, his face pale but strong. The third challenge was crueler still. They brought a dying creature, wounded and in pain. The test was simple. Save it, or let it die. The alien women believed he would fail. The creature was strange, its body twisted with alien biology no human should understand. But the man knelt beside it. He used no advanced tools, no alien medicine. With only cloth from his own torn shirt, he pressed the wound. With water from his own flask, he washed the blood. Hours passed, and still he worked. At last, the creature breathed steady again. It was alive. The alien women were silent now. Their eyes softened, but their pride kept their voices sharp. Why save it? One demanded. It is not human. It is not your kind. The man looked at her with tired eyes. Because life is life. If you mock me for that, then mock me. But I will not let anything die if I can stop it. His words struck them harder than his actions. For the first time, the alien women did not laugh. They looked at him with something different. It was not respect yet, not trust, but something close. The tallest alien with silver hair narrowed her eyes. Her heart was conflicted. She wanted to see him fail, yet she felt a strange pull inside. His calmness, his refusal to surrender. It disturbed her, and yet it fascinated her. That night, when the man was led back to his small chamber, the aliens whispered among themselves, "Why does he not fear us? Why does he not hate us? Why does he act as if he belongs here?" None had the answer, but in their hearts something had changed. The laughter was gone. The next trial would decide everything. The alien women promised themselves, "Tomorrow we will give him a challenge no human can endure. Tomorrow we will break him." But deep inside, they feared something they could not say aloud. What if this human could not be broken? The alien city never slept. Its towers glowed like fire in the night, and the sound of strange machines echoed through the silver streets. But inside the hall of trials, silence ruled. The alien women sat in a circle, their proud faces cold. The human had passed every test. He had walked through fire, faced illusions, and even saved a dying creature. He was burned, tired, and weak in body. But his spirit had not broken. This unsettled them. "He should have fallen by now," one whispered. "No human can endure this much," another said, her voice sharp with doubt. "Then we must dig deeper," the tall one with silver hair declared. "We must find his weakness. Every creature has one, even this man." The next morning the human was brought into the chamber again. His steps were slow, but his eyes were steady. He looked at them as equals, not as masters. That look angered some of the women, but it also made their hearts tremble. The tall alien spoke, her voice calm but dangerous. "Human, you have walked through fire and fear. You have saved a life that was not yours. But now we demand the truth. What gives you this strength? What secret do you hide?" The man stood quietly for a long moment. Then, in his calm voice, he said, "You think strength comes from power, from weapons, from pride, from fear. But strength is not that. Strength is the will to stand when the world wants you to kneel. That is my secret." The alien women shifted uncomfortably. His words pierced deeper than any weapon. But they were not done. The second trial of the day began. They placed him in a chamber filled with thin air where breathing was nearly impossible. Many alien warriors had collapsed there, their bodies giving up. The man staggered as he entered. His chest rose and fell heavily. His vision blurred. Yet he closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "Breathe slowly, one breath at a time. Endure." Minutes turned into hours. His body shook, but he refused to fall. When they opened the chamber, he stumbled out, pale and weak, but still alive. The alien women stared in silence. His body was fragile, yet his spirit refused to die. The third trial was meant to crush his mind. They brought him before a great machine of light. It showed him visions, not illusions this time, but truths. He saw Earth, scarred by war and hunger. He saw humans fighting each other, suffering and dying. The aliens watched closely, expecting shame to break him. Tears filled his eyes. His heart ached as he saw the pain of his people. But instead of falling, he spoke softly. "Yes, we are broken. Yes, we are weak. But we are still here. And as long as we are here, we can rise again." The machine went dark. The aliens were stunned. He had faced the truth of human weakness, yet turned it into hope. "Impossible," one of them whispered. "No man can carry such pain and still speak of rising," another said. But he had. That evening, the alien women gathered once more. Their voices were low, their pride shaken. "He is not like the others," one admitted. "He is only human, yet he endures what even we cannot," another added. The tall one with silver hair looked out across the glowing city. Her face was troubled. She had mocked him, threatened him, tried to break him. But each time he had stood taller. In her heart something strange stirred. It was not anger. It was not hatred. It was something she had never felt for a human before. Respect. The next day, when the man entered the hall, the tall alien stepped forward alone. She looked into his calm eyes and asked softly, "Why do you keep standing? Why do you not give up? What do you gain from this?" The man looked at her, his face tired but strong. "Because giving up means losing everything, and I promised myself long ago I would never let anyone take away my dignity, no matter how powerful they are." The alien women fell silent. For the first time, they did not see a fragile human before them. They saw something else, something unshakable, something they could not destroy. The tall alien whispered almost to herself, Perhaps we were wrong." The human turned away, but in that moment, the balance had shifted. The laughter that once filled the hall was gone forever. The aliens had begun to see the secret of humanity, and in their hearts, a dangerous question took root. What if humans were not weak at all? The alien city woke under a silver dawn. Towers shone in the rising light, their glass walls reflecting stars that still lingered in the sky. In the Hall of Trials, the alien women gathered once more. For days they had tested the human man. They had burned him, starved him, and tried to break his mind. Yet each time, he endured. Their laughter was gone. Now they watched him with quiet eyes, no longer filled with scorn but with something unfamiliar. Respect. But respect is fragile, and pride is heavy. They would not speak of it, not yet. To admit respect for a human was to betray everything they had believed. That morning, the tall one with silver hair stood before him again. Her eyes, once filled with arrogance, now carried a question. "Human," she said, her voice softer than before, "why do you still stand? Why do you still fight when you gain nothing here?" The man looked at her calmly, his face marked by burns and exhaustion. "Because every step I take tells you one truth. Humans will not kneel forever. You may laugh, you may test me, but I will not bend. That is enough." Her lips pressed tight. She wanted to argue, but the words would not come. For the first time, she felt the weight of her own doubt. Later that day, the aliens brought him to a broken machine, an ancient engine that powered part of their city. It had failed long ago, and none of their people cared to repair it. "This will be your challenge," one alien said, smirking. "Fix what cannot be fixed." They expected him to fail quickly. Instead, the man studied the engine for hours. His hands, though rough and clumsy compared to their delicate tools, moved with patience. He remembered Earth's machines, old engines that ran on sweat and labor. Slowly, piece by piece, he found the problem. By nightfall, the engine roared to life. The chamber shook with power. Lights blazed across the city's towers that had been dark for years. The alien women gasped. Some even stepped back. He repaired what even we abandoned," one whispered. "With hands weaker than ours, with tools simpler than ours, he made it live again." The tall one with silver hair stared at the human, her eyes wide. She felt her chest tighten with something she had never known before. Admiration. The man wiped sweat from his face. His voice was quiet, but firm. "Sometimes, the greatest strength is not in building something new. It is in refusing to give up on what is broken." Those words struck them harder than fire. For the first time, they no longer saw him as prey, or a toy, or even a stranger. They saw him as someone who carried a spirit equal to their own. That night, one alien woman approached him in secret. She was younger than the others, her skin glowing faintly blue, her eyes bright with curiosity. She spoke softly, almost afraid of being heard. "Human, why do you not hate us? We mocked you. We hurt you. Yet you never strike back. Why?" The man looked at her, his expression gentle. "Because hate makes chains, and I came here to break chains, not to wear them." Her heart trembled. She had never heard such words. The next day, a storm broke over the alien city. Lightning tore across the skies, winds howled like wild beasts. In the chaos, One alien woman was struck by falling debris. The hall shook as she cried out in pain. Without hesitation, the human ran forward. He lifted the heavy stones crushing her leg, ignoring the blood on his hands and the pain in his back. With great effort, he pulled her free and carried her to safety. The alien women watched in silence. No human should have had the strength. No human should have cared, yet he had saved one of their own without thought of himself. When the storm ended, the hall was quiet. The alien woman he saved looked at him with wide, shining eyes. "Why?" she whispered again. The man's reply was simple: "Because no one deserves to be left behind." In that moment, the laughter that once filled their hearts was gone forever. Respect had taken its place. That night, the alien women gathered together. Their voices were low, filled with doubt and wonder. "He is not like the humans we mocked. He does not fight with anger. He does not break with fear. Perhaps we were blind." The tall one with silver hair stood apart, her gaze fixed on the stars beyond the window. Her heart was restless. She had been the loudest to mock him, the strongest in her pride. Yet now she felt something she could not deny: admiration, respect, and something else, something far more dangerous. The bond had begun. The human had entered their world as a target of laughter. Now he stood as a figure of strength. And though they did not say it aloud, the alien women knew the truth. Their hearts were no longer free from him, and tomorrow their trials would no longer be to break him, but to understand him. The alien city glittered under a red sky. Storms rolled across the horizon, their thunder shaking the silver towers. Inside the great hall, the alien women gathered once more. Their faces were different now, no longer mocking, no longer proud. Their voices were quieter, filled with doubt and curiosity. The human man had passed every trial. He had walked through fire, faced illusions, saved lives, and even brought light back to their forgotten machines. Each day, their laughter grew, weaker, replaced by something they had never expected to feel for a human: respect. But respect was not enough. Some of the alien leaders whispered among themselves, "If he wins again, the balance will change. We will no longer be able to call humans weak." Another answered coldly, "Then we must give him one final test, one that no human can survive. If he fails, his story ends here. If he succeeds, then perhaps we must bow to a truth we do not want to face." The tall one with silver hair stood at the center. Her heart was torn. She had mocked him first. She had tried to break him hardest. But now she found herself watching him with restless eyes. Each act of courage planted seeds of doubt in her pride. Yet she too agreed. A final test was needed. That night, they summoned the man. The hall was silent when he arrived. His body was weak, marked with wounds, but his eyes were steady as always. He looked at them without fear. The tall alien spoke. Her voice was calm, but there was steel within it. "Human, you have passed every trial we set before you. You have endured pain, fear, and pride. But tonight is different. Tonight we test not your body, not your mind, but your very soul." The man said nothing. He only nodded once. They led him to a great chamber deep within the city. At its center burned a pit of shifting light, a living storm of energy. It was a weapon of their ancestors, long forbidden, for it fed on the will of whoever faced it. If the human entered and his spirit wavered, it would consume him completely. "This is the trial of the core," one alien explained. "Even many of our own kind cannot survive it. Enter and show us the truth of humanity." The man stepped forward. He did not look back. Without a word, he walked into the storm of light. Instantly, the chamber shook. The energy wrapped around him, digging into his thoughts, dragging out his deepest memories. He saw Earth once more, its cities in ruins, its people crying, its oceans blackened by war. He saw himself alone, powerless, too small to change anything. The alien women watched closely. Many expected him to fall. But though his knees shook, he whispered through the storm, Yes, I am small. Yes, Earth is broken. But even the smallest, fire can burn in the dark, and I will not let mine go out. The storm raged harder. It showed him death, loneliness, betrayal. It tried to crush his hope. Yet every time it struck, he rose again. His body trembled, but his eyes remained steady. The tall alien with silver hair pressed her hand to her chest. Her heart beat fast. She had seen warriors fall screaming in that chamber, stronger than he was. Yet this human, this fragile man, stood against it still. At last, after what felt like endless hours, the storm grew quiet. The man stepped out, his body weak, his face pale, but his spirit unbroken. The hall was silent. Not one alien laughed, not one dared to speak. Finally, the tall alien whispered, her voice trembling, "You survived what many of us cannot. Why? How can you stand when all else falls?" The man looked at her with quiet eyes. "Because I am human, and humans do not rise because they are strong. We rise because we refuse to stay down." The words struck them harder than thunder. For the first time in their long lives, the alien women lowered their heads. Pride cracked. Respect grew roots too deep to ignore. But respect was not all that stirred. In their hearts, something new was born. Admiration turned into wonder. Wonder turned into something far more dangerous. Longing. That night, when the human rested in his chamber, the alien women spoke among themselves. Their voices were hushed, their faces restless. "He cannot be broken. He has done what even we cannot. Perhaps he is more than human." The tall alien with silver hair stood apart, her eyes lost in thought. She remembered the fire in his gaze, the quiet power in his voice. For the first time, she felt her heart tremble, not with anger, not with pride, but with something she had never felt before. The turning point had come. The man who entered their world as a joke now stood as something more. No longer an outsider, no longer prey. He had become the one they could not ignore, and though none of them said it aloud, they knew. Their fate, and his, were now bound together. The alien city was quiet after the trial of the core. No laughter echoed in the silver halls. No mocking voices filled the air. The human man had survived the storm that broke even the strongest of their kind. He had walked through it scarred but unbroken, his spirit shining brighter than before. The alien women did not know what to feel. Once they had seen him as weak, a creature from a fragile world. Now they looked at him with something far deeper than respect. They could not ignore him anymore. The tall one with silver hair stood at her balcony, staring at the endless stars. Her heart was restless. She had mocked him more than any other. She had wished for his failure, yet he had shown her something no alien had ever shown, a strength that was not born from pride or power, a strength born from loyalty, endurance, and love. She whispered to herself, "Perhaps this human is more than he appears. Perhaps he carries the power to change us all." The next day, the alien women met in secret. Their faces were serious, their voices filled with unease. "We cannot deny it," one said. "He has passed every trial." "More than that," another replied. "He has done what even we cannot. He has given us hope." For the first time, they admitted the truth they had all tried to ignore. They no longer saw him as prey. They no longer saw him as weak. Instead, they felt drawn to him, bound to him in ways they could not explain. But their leaders would not accept this easily. If the alien world learned that their proud daughters admired a human, it would cause chaos. So the women kept their voices low and their hearts guarded. One evening, the human was walking through the quiet gardens of the city. Silver flowers glowed softly under the starlight. The air was cool, filled with the hum of strange insects. He sat alone, his body still marked by wounds, his heart heavy but calm. Then he heard footsteps. The tall alien woman with silver hair approached him. She stood silently for a moment, her glowing eyes fixed on his face. Finally, she spoke. "You should hate us," she said softly. "We mocked you. We hurt you. We tried to break you." The man looked up at her, his gaze steady. "I do not hate you," he said. "Hate is easy, too easy. But if I hated, I would be no different from those who mocked my people. I choose something else." Her chest tightened. "Something else?" she asked. "Hope," he replied simply. "I choose to believe that even those who mock us can learn respect. Even enemies can become family." His words struck her like a blade and a balm at once. She had lived her life proud above others, certain of her superiority. But here was a human, small, fragile, scarred, speaking words that broke her pride and warmed her heart. That night, she told the others what he said. And something shifted between them all. Day by day, their pride melted. Day by day, their hearts softened. They no longer tested him with cruelty. Instead, they walked beside him, spoke with him, asked him questions about Earth, about humanity, about life beyond their city. And he answered them not with arrogance, but with patience. He told them of Earth's oceans, blue and endless. He told them of its forests, green and alive. He told them of its people, flawed, broken, yet always trying to rise again. The alien women listened in silence. For the first time, they imagined a world beyond their pride. A world where strength was not just power, but kindness. Slowly, something extraordinary happened. The bond between the human and the alien women grew deeper. What began as laughter had become respect. Respect became admiration. And admiration turned into something far greater. They no longer saw him as just a man. They saw him as the bridge between their world and his. They saw him as the spark of something new. And then, one by one, they made their choice. They chose him. It was not forced, not commanded, not demanded. It was a choice born from their own hearts. The alien women who once laughed at Earth, now, stood by him, claiming him as their own. The galaxy whispered when the truth spread. Alien beauties, once too proud to look at humans, now carried his children. They bore the future of both their races. For the alien women, it was more than life. It was the first time they had given their hearts, their trust, and their very blood to another. For the human man, it was the greatest gift he could imagine. Proof that humanity was not weak, not forgotten, not alone. The gift of life was no longer theirs alone. It was now shared. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if watching the birth of a new dawn, and deep within the hearts of the alien women a truth burned brighter than ever. The human they once mocked had become their family. The alien city had changed. Once it echoed with laughter at Earth and its people. Now it glowed with something else, silence, wonder, and a strange kind of hope. The human man who came alone had survived every trial. He had faced pain, fear, and even the storm of the core. He had saved lives, rebuilt what was broken, and shown a strength that no alien expected. But his greatest victory was not in the trials. It was in the hearts of the alien women. Once they had mocked him. Now they stood beside him as family. They carried within them the bond of new life, a bridge between their kind and his. Their laughter was no longer cruel but soft, filled with warmth. Yet beyond the shining towers of their city, the wider galaxy whispered. Not all aliens were pleased. Many races who had always scorned humans now burned with anger. To them, the union between the human and the alien women was shameful, a threat to their pride. Rumors spread of fleets preparing to strike. The galaxy was watching. One evening, as the red sun dipped low, the tall alien woman with silver hair stood with the human on a high balcony. Her glowing eyes reflected the horizon. "They will come," she said quietly. "Others will try to destroy you, to destroy us, because they cannot accept what we have chosen." The man stood calm, his gaze fixed on the stars. "Then let them come," he said. "We will show them the truth. Humanity is not weak, not anymore." His words carried through her heart like fire. She placed her hand on her stomach, feeling the spark of life within. "Then we stand together," she whispered. "Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as one." Days later, the attack began. Great ships filled the skies, blotting out the stars. Alien warriors descended, their voices filled with fury. They demanded the human's life. They demanded the alien women abandon him, but they refused. The alien women stood in front of him, their glowing forms shining like shields. They raised their voices so the galaxy could hear. "You call him weak. You call his people broken. But he has shown us more strength than all your armies combined. He is ours, and we are his." The battle raged. Blades of light cut across the sky, fire roared, and towers shook. Yet the human did not hide. He stood in the center of the storm, leading not with weapons, but with courage. His calm voice guided the alien women. His steady hands saved the wounded. His unbreakable will held them together. For every enemy who mocked, there were others who watched in silence. And as the fight went on, something remarkable happened. Doubt began to spread through the galaxy. If one human could stand against so many, what could all of humanity become? By dawn, the enemy fleets broke and fled. The alien city stood scarred but unbroken. The human and the alien women, though weary, stood together as the first light touched the towers. The tall alien woman with silver hair looked at him with eyes that no longer carried pride or arrogance. They carried love. "You changed us," she said softly. "You changed everything." The man shook his head. "No, you changed yourselves. I only showed you what was always possible." The alien women smiled, their hearts at peace. For the first time in their long lives, they felt something greater than pride. They felt family. And so the story of laughter and mockery had ended. In its place rose a new story, one that would echo across the stars. Aliens once mocked humanity. They called Earth weak, small, and unworthy. But a single human man proved them wrong. Through pain, through trials, through love, he became the bond that united two worlds. The galaxy would never forget, for from that day onward, when aliens spoke of humans, they no longer laughed. They spoke with respect, with awe, with fear, and with hope. A new dawn had risen, not just for one man, not just for the alien women, but for all of humanity. And the stars themselves seemed to whisper the truth. Humans were never weak. They were only waiting for their time to rise.